Good morning. Welcome to our morning devotion. This morning I'm going to start in Isaiah. And Isaiah is a book that when I read it, what I think about is I think about Isaiah describing God in a way that God is like a parent. He's a parent that's looking at his child who's growing older and going, "What are you doing?" And he starts out and he is just loving his kids and he is wondering why on earth are they rebelling. He looks at the animals and he says, "You know where to get something to eat. Well, why don't my children?" And he just continues to look at his kids and say to, "You know what, all this stuff you're doing, it's not going to bring anything good your way. All of these choices that you're making, the effect of this, it's not going to be something that's going to bring you closer to me. It's not something that's going to bring you happiness in your life or fulfillment or joy." And I like in what verse is that? I like in verse 5, where God here sounds like a broken parent. And he's looking at his kids who are rebelling, and he says to them, he says, "Why do you want more hurt? Why do you keep rebelling?" He looks at his kids and he sees their pain and suffering, and he asks them, "Oh, why don't you want to be healed? Why don't you want to come over here and I'll take care of you and I'll bandage your wounds and pour oil upon them? You will be healed." But instead, his children stand in their abandonment, they stand in their isolation, they stand in their rebellion and their that that feeling of desperation holding them back. And it's just, God doesn't want that for you. God wants you to find that peace and that joy and that contentment in him, because even when times are hard and challenging, the peace that you find in having a relationship with Jesus Christ, the peace that you find when you take time to spend in his word, the peace that you find when you have a conversation with him on a daily basis is unbelievable. God told the people of Judah that he was so tired of their meaningless religious practices. You know, sometimes we look at people who we see as very deliberately, very openly walking apart from God, and we go, "Oh, I would never do that. My relationship with God is so important to me." However, there's still little things that we are always bringing before God. And sometimes when enough of those little things build up, we go through the motions of religion without having that deep connection with God anymore. I encourage you just to check in with yourself. Check in with your excuses, check in with ways that you're not reaching out to God when you really should be. Because instead of making it about an act, we need to make it about submission to God. Being in a relationship with Jesus Christ, being in a relationship with God, is when we find that place of peace, that place of contentment. I encourage you today, spend some time with God, dig into the Word, and find that peace that is yours when you are living life with Him.